life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Welcome to the first show of year 3 of Around the Turnbuckle. I'm the Big Alboski. That guy right there is Professor Keith, as always. And joining us from Amarillo, Texas is referee Parker, let me say it right, Chrzanowski.
There you go.
Got it. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. How are you guys?
We're doing awesome, man. So what's been going on? So for those who don't know, we interviewed Parker about a year ago, roughly last summer. We talked about how he got into professional wrestling. We got to talking about refereeing in general. He is the senior official at Top of Texas down there in Amarillo. And we talked about that part of it because that's a major part that usually doesn't get a lot of love. And Keith and I have had plenty of referees on. We've made friends with a lot of local referees here. And it's something that some guys do in the indies because they're training to be a wrestler, or the other side of the coin is they just love wrestling so much they wanted to get into it. They wanted to learn how to do it, but they're in harm's way just as much as the wrestlers, and they often don't get the credit, and they often get blamed for bad calls, bad counts, all this, all this nonsense. You're the first guy blamed, Parker. When there's a 3 count and it was an obvious 3 count, but those idiots were supposed to kick out, you are the first guy blamed for that, right?
Yeah, and I love it. I love getting the blame. I love getting the heat on me.
Of course
if I'm not getting the heat, then I'm not doing my job.
And I won't say when and where, but there was a show that Al and I were at recently where we had a very bad amateurish official that actually screwed up the match, and he got bitched out by the talent. And it was actually a case where, having sat there, I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's the one case where I'm going to be like, talent was right, referee. It was a tag match. He had no business in there. It was AEW level, not enforcing the rules.
Right.
Double teams from the baby faces and the heels. It was just like, oh, sweet baby Jesus, what is happening?
Wow.
So, refresh everybody's memory, Parker. You got into the business what year?
It was late 2015, early 2016.
Right. So we're pressing up on 8 years. We're getting close to 8 years for you then.
Yes, sir.
And always in Texas, right? It's always locally for you, right? You've always stayed in Texas. You never refereed outside of Texas, right?
Actually, this past fall, I went and refereed in Georgia.
Awesome.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. In Swainsboro.
How was that?
Georgia.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that trip.
It's for a company called Championship Wrestling from Georgia. Awesome company to work for. Great guys, great talent, everything. And it was one thing that my trainer got me into going with him to do the shows down there every month. And we started going in June of last year. And we went every month up till December. Then they had their Christmas show. And then after that, I haven't really been back because financial wise, because plane tickets going there every month is kind of expensive.
Yeah. That trans is no joke.
Yeah. And so I just love it. Like I said, great company, great guys. Couldn't ask for a better promotion, really.
So, since we saw you last, we saw you last year, we got to know, everything about you. And if anybody hasn't seen that interview, you can go back on our YouTube channel and check it out. And we talked a lot about refereeing in general. All right. So has anything changed for you majorly or otherwise in the past year, other than that trip to Georgia, which is pretty big because up to that point, you'd only refereed in Texas. So that was a thing. Why did you choose to do that? For you, it was just the experience, or why did you choose? You wanted to get out of your comfort zone, or what?
Well, mostly get out of my comfort zone, and I also want to expand my horizons a little bit. I want to get my name out there, so that way, hopefully, a big company like ROH, AEW, WWE, I can get my name out to one of those two, or even Impact Wrestling. if I can just get my name out there, hopefully one of them will see me. They want to give me a shot.
So you still have that dream. You still have that dream of working for a big company and refereeing for a living.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Awesome. Being a referee for years now, is there a match that you called that was your favorite? That's Chris Vant from South Carolina.
Yes, actually, there was this one match. It was here in Texas at Top Texas Pro Wrestling. It was our heavyweight champion Pierce Price taking on Rodney Mack.
Okay.
And Rodney Mack, he worked for WWE before in the past. Awesome guy. He did a seminar with us. Great guy to learn from. Sit underneath the learning tree with him, and just to be a referee for a guy who's worked for a big promotion like that is really awesome. You know, I get to learn from him, have some questions, pick his brain, stuff like that.
Rodney Mack's one of those guys that I never hear bad stories about. Nobody has anything bad to say about Rodney. They always talk about he's a nice guy. He's very generous with his knowledge. He's always willing to share and teach people. And I love to hear that, because we need that. We need the guys that have been to the show that now are on a different trajectory in their career, that they're coming in and they're not big timing people. They're not going, I just want to get my match done and get my payoff and go home. Like, no, we need those guys to share and help that next generation to keep the business healthy.
Hey, you know, we've had a lot of seminars up here of professional wrestlers coming in, talking to young guys and stuff like that. And we've recently seen referee Dave Hebner up here. Or was it Earl? Keith? Was it Dave or it was Dave?
I think it was Dave. I don't think
Dave.
Earl really does anything anymore.
Yeah, no, it was Dave. So Dave Hebner has been up here. Have you ever come cross paths with any referees that refereed, you know, on TV at a big stage like that, such as him?
No, but I would love to in the future if I could ever get the opportunity to.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously truly one of the all-time greats, Hall of Famer referee. You know, a lot of people, even the casual wrestling fan, has heard of him or heard of that name, or the Hebner brothers. You know, the famous Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, 2 referees thing back in the day. But yeah, nowadays, you know, Keith, and correct me if I'm wrong, but nowadays, like, the names of the referees, like even on WWE right now, I couldn't name. I mean, 5 years ago, the senior referee was Mike Chioda. Like, he's not there anymore. He's moved on.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you who the senior ref. Maybe Charles Robinson. I think he's still there.
I think Charles Robinson is still there. I'm sure part of it is that I very infrequently tune into WWE, so I'm going to put it on Front Street that this is probably a case of me not having, you know, my knowledge up to current. But it does seem like in WWE, at least, I mean, AEW is a little different.
Yeah.
I don't know about Impact because I haven't seen Impact in a while either. But it does seem like letting the referees kind of have that name recognition and knowing who the senior official is and all that, that seems to be going away. And I think that's a real disservice, because I look at, like, yes, the wrestlers are drawing the house. Yes, nobody buys a ticket going like, oh, Earl Hebner's going to referee that match. You know, just like, I don't think anybody buys a ticket with the idea of like, oh, Jim Ross is calling this, or Michael Cole's calling it, or whoever's calling it. But I do think the audience recognizes those supporting players, and even a casual fan is smart enough to go like, if they're involved, I know this is going to be a little bit of a cut above the average. I know I'm going to get a good product here. So I think it's one of those cases of, you may not be buying the ticket for that person, but that supporting player is still very important and can still do something to enhance your product if the audience knows, oh, they're involved with it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like if you knew Dave or Earl Hebner or one of the Hebners was going to referee a match, you know, they weren't going to put up with the heels, you know, their drama or anything like that.
Right.
You know, they're going to be right down the middle.
Yeah, we have a guy in PA here named Zach Carlucci who does the same thing. He follows that suit. It's almost as if he was influenced by guys like that who got physical. If they wouldn't break the corner, he'll step in between guys and push them, and he'll yell. He'll say, "You got a 5 count." Like, he's very animated. Are you that way in the ring, Parker?
I can be at times whenever I feel like it's necessary, but most of the time, the wrestlers that I refereed for, they're usually good about listening to the count and stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes you almost have to be like, yeah, it's a work and all that, but you know what? Adrenaline comes into it, ego comes into it, people start to lose themselves a little bit. And I think there's also, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe a little bit of a testing of like, hey, let's test this guy and see, what I can and can't get away with. Let's see how good he is and what he's going to add to the proceedings. Because I know as a play-by-play announcer, I appreciate when I have someone like Zach Carlucci in there, because then that gives me additional material to work with and to play off of when I can go, oh, okay, Zach Carlucci is really in the heel's face. And that gives me some stuff to give to the audience, more bits of business, instead of just being like this move, then this move, and then that move. Oh, here's the story behind what's going on. Like, the more material I have to play with, the happier I am. So I always appreciate a good official.
Right. And
go ahead, Parker.
I'm not gonna lie. For me, like, if I know it's like a big money match or like a big match, I'll let the rule slide a little bit, but
right.
I won't go like, oh, he's in the corner right away, I gotta get him out. And like, no, give him a little space and start to count and stuff.
On the flip side, to piggyback off of what Keith said, if being like, I usually sit next to him as color commentary, so if the referee starts screwing up, they give me material to play off of. And some of them enjoy, what we say. Like, if we call them out on something like that, then they watch it back and they get a chuckle out of it. If we call them out on their lack of account or lack of doing something when they should be doing something, or where the hell were they? Often we use that old line, referee way out of position. He might have had a 2 count. Like Keith says that all the time. So yeah, it happens, and it's so much fun to add the referee to the action. Otherwise, Keith, like Keith said, he's calling move, but we want to bring the referee as part of the whole equation, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I feel like that's been lost nowadays in today's wrestling is the referee. Back like how we were talking about earlier, like how all the senior officials, like you can name them like 5 years ago and all that. But now we barely know who they are. Like, which, and granted, that's their job is not to be seen. Like is what Professor said, they're not the main focus, but they're still a part of the match. They're still inside the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, like the only AEW referee that I can name is Aubrey Edwards, right? I mean, that's the only one that pops in my head, because she's like the most famous female referee.
And she'll be a referee now, because now I'm reading that she's going to start wrestling here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That ought to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I didn't hear that, but that's something. But Parker, that thought never entered your mind in these 8 years, right? Like, you've never actually had a thought about getting physical, like, or like competing in the ring other than referee.
I want to say that's true, but it's actually not.
Okay, cool. Tell it.
Because this happened when we were in Georgia. The promoter came up to me, he goes, "Hey, how would you feel about you being in a match?" I'm like, "Well, I would love to, but I'm not a wrestler. I'm a referee."
Right.
He's like, "Oh, I know, but I want to do a referee versus referee match."
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, for like the senior referee title or whatever. I'm like, I'm 100% down. Let's do it. I never done it before, so let's do it.
So did he book you for that?
Yeah, it was in their December show, and it was me versus their referee. I was the heel because I'm from Texas. They don't like Texas people.
Texas and Georgia, man, like a college thing.
Yeah. And so the crowd hated me ever since. I would just step in the ring to referee a match, and the crowd was booing me. And it was amazing. But being in it for like a wrestler side point of view is different. I'm not gonna lie.
But that's got to be a little tough too, right? Because I would think too because I know again going back to Zach Carlucci, Zach trained as a wrestler. He chose to stay a referee, but every so often he'll get into a storyline or something where either he has to do an offensive move, or a couple months ago he did a full-on match with a wrestler for ownership of one of the promotions here, in story. And I have to think that that's kind of difficult, and that makes you have to kind of make a decision there, right? When you're stepping into that situation, because then you're not going full time unless you're saying, hey, I'm crossing the line and I'm never going back. If you're stepping back across that line, it's a little difficult, right? Because now the audience has a different perception. Like you said, you worked heel in that promotion. So now they're booing you. You're almost in not quite the Nick Patrick situation in WCW when he was in the NWO. But I mean, does that, in your mind, create something of a distraction? And do the boys maybe in the ring have kind of a problem with that, of like, oh, what the fuck? The referee's getting the heat and they're booing him. They're not paying attention to me. Or am I just overthinking it and this is not something you're seeing or you're dealing with?
Oh, no, I 100% agree with you to a point. Going back to what you just said about, oh, the wrestler is getting mad because I'm getting more heat than they are, is one thing that my trainer always taught me is if the wrestler's getting mad that the referee's getting more heat, then the wrestlers are not doing their job correctly.
Good point.
Chris Vant has a question. Said, have you ever made a judgment disqualification call? Like, I think he means where the match wasn't necessarily supposed to end that way.
But you caught the guy cheating.
So you had to ring the bell.
I haven't made that kind of a call. I made a similar call to tossing a manager out who wasn't supposed to be tossed out, but I caught him cheating like 3 or 4 times before that, and I told him, if I catch you again, you're out of here. And part of it was on me because I turned around too soon. But it's one of those things where you have to do it. You can't go back on your word.
Yeah, no.
Exactly. You're the credibility. So, I mean, if you say it, you just go in the back and you go, oh, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I turned around too fast. I know it. But out there, you got to do it, because otherwise you look like a fool. You've lost your credibility now, and you're never going to get back with that audience again. They're always going to be like, nah, he's the guy that said he'd toss, Johnny McAsshole over there, and he didn't toss him. So why should I ever believe a damn thing this guy tells me again? He's a great manager, by the way, that Johnny McAsshole.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, Keith. I was like, I want to know the who was under the tutelage of Johnny McAsshole.
Crap I pull out of thin air on this show.
It's funny. It's 3 years of this, Parker. 3 years of this, I got. All right. Yeah,
No.
So what's been happening with you lately? Like, did you have a recent event you'd like to talk about that you had besides the Georgia show, like something in Texas, and what do you got coming up?
I know I do have an event coming up next Saturday at Top of Texas Pro Wrestling. Top of Texas Pro Wrestling presents Sweet Summer Heat, I believe it's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And let me actually double check that really quick.
Yeah, because we want to help you sell some tickets if we can. I don't know what our audience share in Texas is, but whoever it is, get out there. Do it.
Yeah, it's called Sweet Summer Heat. Right now, we're advertising 3 matches. Our heavyweight championship match, our champion Blade will go up against Jay Hazard. Then we have our women's championship match. Claudia Solis will defend her title against Stormy Renee. And then also in a bare knuckle brawl, it'll be JD Smitty versus Pierce Price.
So how exactly does a bare knuckle brawl kind of differ from a street fighter? Is it just kind of like Rose by any other name?
Really, right now, I have no clue. The promoter hasn't gotten back to me on that yet.
You're gonna find out that day, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've been questioning him ever since we announced this. Like, hey, every day, hey, what's this about? And he tells me, you'll find out.
Yeah. Because I mean, just on the surface, I would think like, the old school, like come dressed as you are, street fight or lights out, unsanctioned match, that sort of thing.
Yeah, like how Dusty Rhodes would be, like in the blue jeans, the boots, and the shirt.
Right. Like the old bunkhouse matches.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, yeah, and I never worry about like how our audience or how many of our audience are gonna see it in Texas, because what I want you to do is when we're done, I want you to share it, the show we just did, tag those from top of Texas so that they know that you're out here, like, promoting what's going on, and you know what I'm saying, like you're trying to help that. We mentioned it, and whenever we have anybody on here, I don't care if they're from Texas, Colorado, Florida, I don't care where you're from. They should be doing that. They should be sharing this out and tagging those who will see it in Texas so that you can help promote your events coming up.
Yeah, let's sell some tickets.
And once again, I really appreciate all you guys do for us indie guys, trying to get our name out there. And once again, thank you guys for what all you guys do. Congratulations on 3 years and stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We haven't talked to you since last year. I don't know if you heard, you did heard Keith mention that we're a commentary team for a local promotion. That's something that was offered to us, and we kind of took the bull by the horn, so to speak. And yeah, we've done over 50 episodes for them now. And
nice.
So now they have us. We were recording them after they would send us the video. We would record them at home. But now we go to the event live, and we do the audio live. We do the recording live.
Oh, nice, awesome.
So it's awesome because it's so much more emotional. Like the most recently, there was a friend of ours who up here is a legend named the Wolfman, and he wrestled a guy by the name of JT Cage for the 3WA Hardcore Championship. And Keith over there, we've gotten pretty close to Wolfman, so you could hear the emotion in Keith's voice when he calls that match. Like, he was so into that match. And then when it was over and the Wolfman was victorious, you could hear his exuberant emotion. And I don't know if we would have been able to get that exact reaction out of him, like recording at my house. Probably
not, because it's different when you know.
Yeah, so it's so much different when you're there live. But like I said, we never started Around the Turnbuckle to get into the business. It's just kind of happened organically, and we appreciate everything, any opportunities that we've gotten. We don't ever ask for anything in return for what we do. We just do it because we love the business. We love meeting you guys. We love following you guys. It's no secret we have repeat guests on here, but I usually wait 6 months to a year because I don't want to have somebody on every month, like month after month after month after month. But
right.
So we usually wait. But the biggest reason why we have repeat guests is not because I don't have a lack of guests. It's because we like to keep track of people that have come on here and helped us get where we are. And listen, if your end goal is to be a referee for Ring of Honor, for Impact, for NXT, whatever, we want you to get there. I don't care how you get there. I don't know the path that you have to take, but I do know that, I know your passion. 8 years, you love doing this. You love being in that ring and calling your match and doing what you got to do. And, it's in your blood. And so I just wish you get that break. I wish you get that tryout or whatever it takes somewhere. And I'm not knocking any, if you can get paid to do what you love, more power to you. I don't care where. I'm not gonna badmouth any promotion versus another. If they'll pay you on a regular basis, to referee matches. That's it, man.
Yeah, they're treating you right.
You know, I'm not going to badmouth, you know, Impact or AEW versus WWE, whatever.
Right. Like, I'm on the same page. Like, if I can at least get signed with like a big company, I don't care what company it is. You know,
You just want to be
as
able
long
to do
as,
this
like you
full
said, if they're
time.
paying me right and stuff. Yeah, so that way I don't have to worry about what I got to do to pay my bills and stuff like that. Like, no, I don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Awesome. So, talk pre-show. So you mentioned you got the big event coming up on the 17th in Amarillo. You did mention that. Do you have anything else coming up down the road? And or is there any recent events that you'd like to talk about?
I do know that on July 1st, I am going down to Levelland, Texas to referee for Buzzsaw Championship Wrestling.
Okay.
I don't know what they have in store yet, but I do know that the promoter asked me to come back down. And I told him I'll be more than happy to work for him.
And remind everybody who trained you in the first place.
It is a wrestler named Nathan Briggs under the Main Event Wrestling Academy.
Okay. And that was back in, you said 2015.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was like a million years ago.
It feels that way.
You know?
It feels that way. 2015.
I feel like everything prior to 2020 feels like the before time now.
2015, Keith, I was still living in Peabody.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
there's that.
In 2015.
But yeah,
probably going to your house and watching pay-per-views, honestly.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah. So, Parker, what do you think of this current state of WWE? We talked pre-show about we were going to mention the that this week the Iron Sheik passed, Hall of Famer. Iron Sheik was part of my childhood. I remember, he was like the villain. When I first started wrestling, like he was the top guy. He was the top heel at the time when I first started watching wrestling. Like him and Piper basically were the top heels. And, he was one of the first action figures I had because, if you had to buy Hulk Hogan, you had to buy somebody for Hulk Hogan to fight. Iron Sheik was your options were him or Andre or Big John Studd.
Yeah, I think Big John Studd for the heels because I think that first round it was 4 figures. It was Hogan, Andre, Sheik, Studd.
And Parker, we're not talking those plastic things they got nowadays, man. We were talking these big rubber.
Yeah,
like they were like 6 inches tall.
All right.
Like they were huge, and it came with you had to buy the ring separate. And I had about 20 or 30 of those, and I don't know what happened to them. Eventually the paint started to wear off of them, because we played with them all the time. But the Iron Sheik was always a great character, one of the best characters ever. Obviously natural heel, obviously amateur champion, obviously,
bodyguard to the Shah of Iran at one point.
Right.
Yeah, shoot.
I mean, he was legit, not only legit, a legit athlete, an Olympic national champion, but he also was, a tough bastard for real. You know what I mean? Like anybody that ever came across him. And then, he beats Bob Backlund with the famous towel throw in by Arnold Skaaland. And then I think it was about a month later. I was going to say a couple weeks, but about a month later,
about 3 weeks to a month.
He lost it to Hulk Hogan, and that was kind of the birth of Hulkamania. So that's what he's most noted for. I really wish it wasn't because, he did so much more after that. He was tag team champions with Nikolai Volkov in WrestleMania 1. Yeah. But he then fast forward, he became one of the most followed guys on Twitter. Because you just never, you just
tweets.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
That's the thing that I'm happy about, but it also makes me sad because I feel like the current generation is going to remember Twitter Chic, and I hope they've gone back and they look at the Chic you were talking about.
Yes,
I think people underestimate how important it was for Chic to be that guy for Hogan to beat, because Chic was so the perfect foil for Hogan. Hogan needed to beat that like foreign menace to get that all-American hero thing off on the right foot and whatnot. And I mean, Sheik did that perfectly and, turned down a lot of money to get that done. I don't know how many people, I'm sure people know about that Sheik was going to be paid by a consortium of promoters if he would break Hogan's leg or Hogan's back and shoot on him in that match.
I heard that story. Yeah,
wow.
She did not do it. It was Vern Gagne, and I know when she did a U shoot, I just saw it the other day from a few years ago with Sean Oliver, because Oliver asked him, like a lot of people have, like, well, Vern was really going to give you $10,000 to do it, and Sheik was like, "Oh, Mr. Gagne and Mr. Watts, Bill Watts was apparently involved, and
he was.
Crockett was also going to guarantee it. That I guess they were going to split 3 or 4 ways, and between the 3 of them, we're going to come up with the 10 grand and give it to Sheik, and that's 10 grand in 1980 money. So like,
can you imagine that, Parker?
I cannot. That is crazy.
And I mean, it's insane the shit that went down in the old days versus now, the territory days and whatnot. And if you haven't already, I strongly urge you to watch the A&E biography on the Iron Sheik, because he was alive to be part of it. So you kind of get it from his perspective, but it goes back to the beginning. It goes back to what, like Keith said, being a bodyguard and national wrestling champion, and it shows everything, and it has that story. He actually tells that story about the promoters offering him to do that because they did not want this thing. They did not want Vince to do what Vince was gonna do.
Mm-hmm. And they wanted to kill it. They wanted to kill it in the crib because they knew what a problem it could be. Because they were hurting already. Vince wasn't attacking necessarily a strong system. That was a system that was already in trouble and in decline in certain places.
Mm-hmm.
And, Vince just kind of hastened the death of things with his tactics.
Parker, did you ever go back and ever watch anything from that day, from that era, from the golden era, as they call it?
I didn't really watch a whole lot. Go back and watch a whole lot. I watched bits and pieces. Like, of course, I went back to watch WrestleMania 1 and 2 and all that. Because no offense, me personally, I'm not a real big fan of Hulk Hogan. I didn't like the Hulkamania era.
You're not upsetting anybody here, really.
Like, it's just one of those things. I think he's overrated, really. And so I really didn't go back and rewatch it, because back in the golden era, it was all about Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
and his matches were very formulaic, and I understand that. But flip side of that is, but the command and the how over he was, that he could basically have the same match over and over again for that many years and stay in a top position. You may not like it as a fan, but you got to respect the accomplishment of that.
Oh, 100%. Like, I 100% respect Hulk Hogan for what he does, and I commend him for all that. But when you come from a fan perspective, like you said, you can do the same matches over and over. It gets boring real quick.
Well, see, I always rooted for the heels, and they kept failing me, right? Because, him and Piper had a war. Hogan obviously came out the better end of that, even though he never really beat him. Macho Man was one of my all-time favorites. Hogan beats him at WrestleMania 5. The Warrior wasn't a heel, but I found myself rooting for the Warrior at WrestleMania 6. And he won, but again, like at the end, Hogan has to have that look like he kick out thing.
Yeah.
Like if you watch that, if you watch WrestleMania 6, Warrior versus Hogan, at the very end, when Warrior does the splash, referee counts 1, 2, as he's coming down for 3, Hogan gets a last second kick out, but the referee still counts 3. So he got up and he said that was only 2, but the referee had already rung the bell, match is over. And so there had to be that, doubt in somebody's mind out there that, oh, he never really beat Hulk Hogan.
Right.
God forbid. God forbid.
Yeah, but that also turned out to be he knew they were going to be coming back to him inside of a year or so.
Well, yeah, he knew that.
Warrior
but
wasn't
we
going to be
didn't,
able to handle it. Everybody knew that.
Yeah, he knew that, and they knew that, but I didn't know that when I think I was 20, somewhere near 20 years old.
Yeah, and there wasn't the internet and the dirt sheets like there is now to be like, hey, guess who's a dick in the back?
So how much of do you pay attention to mainstream now, Parker? Do you watch AEW, Ring of Honor, WWE, any of that now?
I keep up with WWE mostly. Keep up with AEW and Impact. Ring of Honor, not really. It's not really my thing. But like, I don't have to be there like every week. Be like, oh, what time is it? I gotta watch wrestling. If I miss a show, I miss a show. It's no big deal. It's easy to get caught up.
What kind of thing? I'm interested to know what kind of things of the stars of nowadays. What do you like? What do you dislike?
Like from the current product now, like for WWE, I like how they're changing up the titles a little bit.
Okay.
I was never a real big fan of the same title for everything. It was stupid and complicated. I'm not a big fan of the new women's title. How it's the women's undisputed title.
Yeah, right. I don't understand that either. Like, words mean stuff. Like, right, I know they're trying to do a branding exercise, but calling it universal is one thing. Saying it's undisputed, like that's not what that word means. When you have another women's championship within your company, it's disputed. There's a dispute as to who the champion is.
So do we solve that by having like Rhea Ripley face either Asuka or Belair or whoever?
That would be my thought, is either you're going to have a unification match or somebody needs to get out a dictionary, go back and explain to the writers what words mean, and then we just quietly change the name one week, because I don't expect them to go out there on television and go, yeah, we messed up. Sorry, we're bad at English. Quietly change it, and it's fine, because stuff like that distracts me, and I know a couple of Facebook groups I'm in, I see it's driving some other people a little crazy too, where they're like, that's not what that word means.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of Inigo Montoyas sitting there and going, I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Parker, what do you think of the whole Bloodline storyline?
Oh, I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I think it's time that, their timing is perfectly on how they're doing it. All that, it's slowly downgrading, and one day it's just all going to come up in flames in Roman's face.
It feels that way, but like they keep adding twists and turns to it. I mean, after they kind of, dealt with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, even though they're kind of not dealt with because they still have the tag titles. Now they're kind of internally fighting because Jimmy Uso kicks Roman Reigns in the face. And then, and my only problem with that is, when he did it, he said, I did what you should have done a long time ago. But he didn't really explain why. Like, not just because Roman's being a jerk and he treats us like crap. They didn't really go into that. They just basically, like, did he really get pushed to the edge where, he's tired of Roman slapping him around and telling him what to do?
But guess what now? You're going to tune in next week because you want the answer to that question.
Right. That's right. Yeah, just like the whole thing with Jay, basically saying that, Jay is Jay gonna stay with the bloodline? Is he not gonna stay with the bloodline? Is he gonna go with his brother? You know, all that kind of stuff. We found out where Solo's loyalties lie because he keeps attacking his own brothers, so he's obviously on Roman's side.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you said, it's the best storyline that WWE has had that make you want to tune in to SmackDown every week for like, I swear, 5, maybe 10 years.
Probably the best in the last 10 years, yeah. Because it's organic, and it's the best thing about it is people are talking about it. People are riveted. People care. And you're already starting to spin people off from it, and they're in a better position than what they were when they came into it. You can't argue that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens aren't in a world's better position now.
Oh, yeah.
Their association with the bloodline, and not just because, they have the tag straps. Like, they have the tag straps, and the tag straps mean something.
Right.
Again, they're not just, we need to put two guys together and give them these things. Like, you care. You could probably legitimately main event a pay-per-view with the tag team titles. And you wouldn't have been able to do that 5 years ago. You wouldn't have probably been able to do that even 3 years ago.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to give them credit for how smart they've been with cultivating this angle and it doing what I always argued that things like the NWO should have done that I don't think they wound up doing, where it's the main story, but because it's a group story, you're getting this guy over and this guy over and this is getting over, and you're creating all of these side issues, and you're making all of these different stars because they came in contact with it, because they were part of it.
And now, me personally, I haven't seen this good of a storyline since Evolution's storyline.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. And so how long ago? That was like almost, how long ago? That was 10 years ago? 15 years ago?
15 years ago, yeah. But it's almost bringing me back, like, as a wrestling fan, you know. Kind of reminded me, hey, this is what wrestling could be.
I got a question here for you, buddy, from Chris Van again. He's like, how did you get into the referee business, and is there training? How does it all work?
Yes, there is training. From what I was told, all referees got to go through the same training as the wrestlers do. We got to learn how to take bumps and all that, make sure we know how to protect ourselves and all that. If you're looking to get in, just go to contact if you have a local wrestling promotion there, see if they have a wrestling school, and you can just go from there.
Now, this guy you're talking to is an old friend of mine from back in the day, and I happen to know that he's jacked. So, Chris, I'm telling you right now, if you text me or call me up and tell me that you're going to get into the wrestling business as a referee, I'm coming down to South Carolina and I'm whooping your ass because he is like, he's bigger than most of the wrestlers, dude. This guy is a former football player. I mean, jacked.
But you know what? Then you get in as a referee and you do some shots, and then somebody looks at you and goes, "Yeah, you shouldn't be doing this. You should be in there.
You should be wrestling." Sure.
Everybody gets in different ways. Like I always say, like we were blind ass stupid lucky where we just knew some people that were like, we need people that talk good for our show. And we're like, we can talk kind of good.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's how it worked. And I mean, it's been a dream come true, man. Like we love it. We can't wait for the next time we do it. It's so exciting. It's like, and it's not far, it's not like we're traveling, 3-4 hours for $20. You know what I'm saying? Like it's less than an hour away. It's sweet,
It gets your adrenaline going and everything.
Yeah. Like that whole week, that's all I'm thinking about. I'm out doing my job or whatever. And I'm, that whole week I'm thinking about, what matches we got going on. Cause they usually announce some of the matches that week. So they get the promotion going.
Right.
And then 9 times out of 10, Keith and I host a pre-show the day of the event. Like, so if the doors open at 6:00, we have a pre-show at 12 noon where we invite the wrestlers to come on and talk about what's going to happen tonight, that kind of stuff. And it's so much fun to do that. and they, they're straight shooters. They straight shoot towards their opponents. They go, they tell them how it's going to go down tonight. This is how it's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And we just love being a part of it. We just love having our hand in the cookie jar, so to speak.
Yeah. And it's great that they appreciate it, because I humbly get a lot of good feedback. We got some good feedback off of the last show from somebody that, frankly, I thought just kind of tolerated us and was like, oh yeah,
I know who you are speaking.
Yeah. So it was very nice to have them, and he's a veteran, so
over 20 years.
Yeah, so to have him being like, "Wow, you guys did a really, really good job," means a lot. I'm not going to name him because I don't want to blow his gimmick. Everybody needs to think he's a bastard, because he is first.
Because he kind of is.
Yeah.
But the best bastards are bastards 24/7. They don't.
Yeah,
they're not a bastard at the arena, and then he's a bastard 24/7. All right, man. So, is there anything else that you would like to talk about that we haven't talked about yet? Something that's on your mind, or something you got, you want to talk about while you have us here? Because we got about like 10 minutes left.
I mean, not off the top of my head right now, no.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you guys want to talk about?
Well, the thing is, like, when it comes to referees, I really want to go back to the fact that you guys are the unsung heroes in professional wrestling. You guys never get credit for not even half of what you actually do in the ring. And because half of it they don't know. Fans don't know what you go through in the course of a match, during a match. Not only are you the general in there, not only are you calling the rules, not only are you making the counts, but there are often times where you have to do a lot more than that, which I'm not going to divulge because that's part of the game. You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes you have to change your decisions and make your decisions on the fly, and you got to call what you see. People out there that say wrestling is fake don't realize that you can say that all you want, but those guys in that ring are both putting their bodies on the line. They get broken bones, they get broken backs, they get surgeries, all this stuff. That's why I respect them so much, because they put their bodies on the line for our entertainment. So do the referees.
Mm-hmm. Please tell me how to land on plywood and make it not hurt. Because if you figured that out, you're going to be a millionaire. Because I know so many people that will fucking pay you whatever you want for that secret. It hurts. Like, it's insane to me how people have convinced themselves, like, oh yeah, I watched a guy fall on concrete. Don't worry, he's figured out a way that doesn't hurt at all. I'm like, no, because the laws of physics, because the way the human body works. No, it hurts.
Now, knock on wood, Parker, but have you ever been injured or close to it?
No, thankfully.
No.
But it's funny because, like, I've seen, like, people come to training and all that, and they always talk big games like, oh, this is going to be easy and stuff like that. Then after one training session, they're like, no, this is not for me.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, do you actively, you trained in the beginning, but I mean, do you still seek more, or do you still, like, get involved with training? Do you still, like, maybe even help out in ways when they have, like, a new fresh crop of guys, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I tried my best, to give back to the business that's given me so much, even if that is, like you said, helping out the new guys with training, or to go into training more often than what I should, because I don't go as often as I used to anymore. But just helping out the younger guys and stuff like that, really.
Al's terrible internet strikes again. I know he's having some problems before the show came on the air. I'm sure he's going to be back in a minute or two here.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, we talked about that at the top of the show too. It's the only way this business is going to continue and the only way it's going to get better and it's going to continue to be good for the talent, good for the fans, good for everybody involved is the people that know have to keep working with and keep teaching the people that maybe don't know so much. It's got to be about respect. It's got to be about, hey, I know something and I see you out there and you're not doing it. Come over here for 5 minutes and let me teach you how to do that so you can improve your craft and what you're doing. Because it is a craft. It is absolutely a craft.
And going back to what you said just a minute ago, saying something about respect is one thing that people in this business don't understand is respect is earned. It's not given. Yeah. Because like I've seen younger guys come in and think that, that everyone should respect them because they can do all the flippy floppy shit. I'm like, you've only been in business for like a year or two. Like, no.
Yeah. And there's a million guys out there that can do the flippy floppy shit. Tell me how do you do the flippy floppy shit and make the fans go, I like his flippy floppy shit over everybody else's flippy floppy shit.
Right.
Because I always say it's not about the moves. There's very few guys that do anything that is truly new under the sun. And that's fine. You don't always have to reinvent the wheel. But what you want to make sure of is when you do it, they give a shit. You want to be in that like Shawn Michaels position where I guarantee you to this day, Shawn Michaels does a super kick. It means 10 times what the average guy who does a super kick does.
Right.
Shawn Michaels doing it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you guys lost me there for a minute.
We covered.
I hit a button, and the next thing you know, I was completely out, and I was like, "Oh no, did I like shut the whole thing down?" No, okay.
I tried to give your internet heat. Now you just put it all back on yourself.
It's not the internet because I'm actually like not using my internet. I'm just using my 4G network kind of thing on my phone, and I'm sitting in the parking lot in the grocery store near my house because it's closed. Nobody's gonna bother me, and unlike at home where in 5 minutes or so when I go back, I'm gonna get bothered. Yeah, gloves are off. But man, Parker, it was awesome catching up with you, man, and I'm so glad you still have that passion that we admired when we first met you. And it seems that way in Texas. Everybody we meet in Texas, because I know Texas is a big wrestling state, as is PA, but Texas state, they love it all over, and it's a big state. So there's a lot of wrestling going on, a lot of promotions going on, and to this day, I mean, I know it's always been that way. I mean, since I've been alive, the passion and some of the greatest wrestlers of all time have come from Texas. You mentioned Shawn Michaels earlier, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Undertaker, and Terry Funk.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it goes on and on and on. Yeah, it goes on and on and on. I'm having all kinds of problems over here. So man, yeah, we appreciate you and everything you do, referees, all referees, what they do, because like I said before, you are often you are never appreciated for what you do, but you're always blamed for what you don't do.
Yep.
Right.
So that's the thing. I think there should be a little bit more respect on referees' names. Don't go anywhere when we go off the air, okay?
Okay.
Professor, next week on Around the Turnbuckle, I have not confirmed this yet.
Okay.
But I have it on great authority that we may be graced with the presence of somebody who you may or may not know.
Okay.
Parker, I know, Professor. I know you know him. Parker, you may or may not know this person, because we had an open date next week. We didn't have a guest booked yet, and so I did a little digging and I did a little talking, a little conversation this week. And this guy has been in the wrestling business for over 20 years. This guy is still doing it now. And this guy, I have the utmost respect for, and I can't wait to actually have him on here. But like I said, I haven't completely 100% locked him down, but he did say if he can, he will. And that would be Wyndham James Winthorpe III.
Wow.
Like I said, I haven't completely locked it down yet.
Yeah, he's definitely a hard one to get because, like I say, he very much protects his gimmick, and I respect that.
Yes, and he's the heel of all heels up here in Pennsylvania, Parker. He wrestles all over PA, all over New Jersey, and wherever he goes, he's much hated. Obviously, with the foreign gimmick, with the British flag, he sings the British national anthem at the beginning of every event, every show he does, and obviously, they, us proud Americans here, we just don't take kindly to that. So, but I hope,
and he goes for it. Even
I hope to lock. I hope to lock that down. I will let everybody know as soon as it's locked down. I will let everybody know on our little group of Around the Turnbuckle that gets locked down. If he can't do it, I have a backup plan, but I won't mention that backup plan in case the first plan works. Meantime, we need you to subscribe and share. And Parker, make sure you share to the folks at Top of Texas. And one more time, mention that June 17th event, please.
Top of Texas proudly presents Sweet Summer Heat.
Where is it at? In Amarillo?
It's at the Hamlet Shopping Center, 2650 Dumas Drive, right across from Wonderland Amusement Park.
Dave Motorman said, thank you, Parker.
You're welcome.
David, thanks for watching, man. Mm-hmm. We always appreciate your support, absolutely, and everybody else who supported us over the years. Professor, any parting gifts?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. Other than, like you say, support your local referees, love your local referees. Ref lives matter. Make that a thing.
Yes.
You just invented a t-shirt, man.
I just invented a t-shirt. So if somebody makes that t-shirt, you know where to send the royalty check.
There it is.
Right here.
Refs lives matter. I freaking love that, man. I love that. All right, Parker, don't go anywhere. For the professor and Top of Texas Wrestling referee Parker Chrzanowski, I'm the Big Al Boski. This was Around the Turnbuckle. We'll see you guys next Sunday.
You think you know me?
Oh, yeah! If you smile! Woo! Calculations are correct.